Hi, everybody. This is fun. I'm going to get giggly today.
Good.
I'm here with my friend Athena Rose, who I met through Simbi, again, the online website that I've told you guys about, this trading website that's for, bartering for different services that you want to experience. And also, she's a good friend of my friend Lauren, who I did an interview with maybe 3 weeks ago. And we've really hit it off.
Yeah.
And exchanged sessions a few times. And I'm so grateful that you had the time today to be here with me. You have already gifted me with so much understanding and opened a lot of doors for me that I didn't even know where the doors were. So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
like, I know there's a
That's
door
what
here.
it's all about.
It is. And I tend to be the kind of person who likes to do things on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
it's lovely to have someone who I actually feel can see me accurately and help me. There's a lot of people
Beautiful.
that they try, but it just doesn't resonate. And I'm grateful for that. Whatever people want to give and can give is lovely, but it doesn't always fit. So
Right.
anyway,
Absolutely.
glad you're here. And happy
Me
birthday to
too.
Lauren, wherever
Yay,
she is. Is that
happy
Lauren in
birthday,
the
Lauren.
background? No,
We
that's
love you. No, it's Mike.
Oh, it's Mike. Hello, Mike.
Incredible.
That's so funny. Anyway, I'm wondering if you could share with people, how you got to be where you are today, and what has your path been like? Have you always been really intuitive? Things like that.
Wow, beautiful. Okay. I had abilities when I was a child, prophetic abilities, and I shut them down. I reached a point where I got scared of them, essentially, because I would receive things that would happen for people that when I would tell adults, they wouldn't listen. They would say I was making things up, so on and so forth. Basically, the normal reaction from adults of gifted children. And so I shut them down for a long time. And then on my 28th, right around my 28th birthday, which I later discovered was like the Saturn return and kind of like a big shift for people, right?
Yeah.
That's when I had dealt with severe depression, anxiety, intense migraines for years. And it was right around my 28th birthday that I was given the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And a neurologist told me that it was likely progressive. And she looked at me and very cold told me that I would be in a wheelchair within 6 months. And I remember so vividly driving home from this appointment, and I lived in Washington at the time. So I lived, I would drive between the Washington and Oregon border. So it was along the gorge, and there was a cliff to the right. And I remember wanting to just go right off of it. I had a daughter that was about 4 months old at the time. And then I had a son that was 7. And I was like, there's no way that I'm going to have them, watch me go out like that. And it was interesting because in that moment that I thought that, and I thought how much better that would be, something else clicked in me. And it was all of a sudden I had this deep anger for this woman that I had just left off. And I said, no, that's not who I'm going to be. I would be what she's convinced that I already am. And it was like this switch. And I remember I went home and I got on my computer, and all I looked up was alternative cures to multiple sclerosis. And all of a sudden everything came in, and it was like, it was connections to vaccinations. It was connections to eating genetically modified food. It was connections to not receiving vitamin D. And so that was really the beginning of looking at tracing back to the fact that my health took a serious decline when I spent a small amount of time in the military. And I received multiple vaccinations, one right after the other. They kind of herd you in like like cattle into a room, and you go past each drill sergeant that has shots of who knows what. And the only thing that they had to tell us at the time, I guess, was the anthrax vaccine. So I knew that I had received that amongst a lot of other ones. And it was a very steady decline in my health, my mental capacity, and how I operated after that. So it was a really interesting journey from leaving the military to the final diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And just like, it was so interesting because it was really in that moment, I can look back and see that was really when my abilities started to come back online and activate, because it was all of a sudden I saw this sequence of everything that happened from that, and just like bam, 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 just nailed it all down to like, hey, this is exactly when that happened. That's exactly when that. And I started to, I completely revamped my health. I started to eat organic. I started to start with paleo. And after a few months of that, I was guided more towards energy work. My very first kind of experience with it was with a woman that did inner spirit therapy. So similar to hypnosis. And I worked with her to just basically ask my soul to come in and say, guide her to things that are going to help her health. And so that was my first connection. Basically, I felt with my soul. And I was very, very ungrounded for a very long time, most of my life, up until the last couple years. My soul's like, I've done enough healing that it's felt safe enough to be fully in my body. And it's been quite a journey. And I allow the wisdom of my soul to come forward and live my everyday life now. And here I am. It's been 7 years and I'm not in a wheelchair, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. And I get to help people. I get to help people through the different tools that I've learned along the way, and my gifts.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What was the first thing that you learned for facilitating for others?
Cord cutting was the very first that I learned. I had a very I really kind of want to say traumatic, but a very interesting relationship with my birth mother. And the first energy healing experience that I had from another was a powerful healer that she facilitated she did a past life reading for me, connecting to my birth mother, and then also did a soul contract removal and cord cutting. And it was so mind-blowingly incredible for me about how different I felt about my mother on the other side of it. Before that, I had deep, deep anger, deep pain. Anytime I thought of her, I would almost tear up. I was very saddened by the way that she had treated me throughout my entire life. And on the other side of this experience with this woman, that's where I felt free. I felt free for the first time. And it came in very quickly that I was to start cord cutting for other people. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I started practicing on myself and then close family members. And it kind of went from there.
Can you explain for people who don't know what a cord is, what that means?
Absolutely. We have energetic cords that are tied to everybody. When we go through the grocery store, having conversations, we'll have energetic ties to people. Everything is energy. So especially in communication, we get these strings. I would really prefer to call them strings when it comes to people that we just talked to in the grocery store, because they're very different. size and, emotions attached and things like that. So strings basically to people that we run into throughout the day and have conversations with. And then we have very thick cords to family members, very especially romantic partners. And what it is essentially is it's like this tube from one person to another. It can be connected through various different chakras, various spots on the body, depending on what the relationship is. For instance, if it's not a great relationship, often there are cords connected to the solar plexus pulling your power away, right? And it can be, if it's a sexual partner, then it could be sacral chakra. And it doesn't even need to be a sexual partner for cords to be there. If the person even thinks of you sexually, sometimes cords can get attached. And a lot in the heart, and then throat, of course, and third eye. So I really want people to understand that when cord cutting is performed, whether it's you do it yourself, you ask Archangel Michael, that's a very popular way. And that's how I really started, was calling in his assistance. Or you have somebody that knows what they're doing as well and really gets in there and clears out the cords. We never remove positive cords. It's always negative. And so it's always, lower emotions that are between the two, that by removing those, if you want to keep a relationship with that person, then that's actually the best way to do it, because it clears out everything that's kind of in the way of a positive relationship.
Nice.
And then there is a way, it's a slightly different process, but if it is to somebody that you never want to speak to again, there is a little bit of a different process. It's not removing the positive cords, but it's removing all the negative cords. And then it's more stating through intention that this person is no longer allowed in your energy field. And so they can no longer create more cords. Really, that's what it comes down to, is creating more cords, is clearing the cords that are there, and not allowing any new ones to be created. And it's really interesting through cord cuttings that I've done for myself as well as other people, depending on the connection of the other person, they almost always feel it to an extent. Most of them are not conscious of this. They'll just feel this. They'll just like think of the person and be like, oh, I need to do something. And like gain that control again, almost, if it's not a good connection, if it's narcissist, abuse, things like that, that person will feel this need to grab control again.
Right.
So that's when it's important to do protections and have the person understand they can always create more cords if they choose to have communication with that person.
That is good to know. I think, I do similar work, but not under the terminology cords or strings, where I do energy callback and return with people, where they can call back all of their energy from someone or send all of a person's energy back to them, so that, again, powers people have their own energy.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
interesting to feel and to notice the ways that we want to block returning people's energy and for what reasons.
Yes.
Like, no, I'm supposed to caretake this energy, or I somehow deserve having this anger inside me that doesn't even belong to me. And it's really interesting to help people understand that. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And my experience, we should never be carrying anybody else's energy. As a highly sensitive empath, I find that very especially carrying anybody else's energy is detrimental, quite frankly, to sovereignty, right? We're not sovereign if we're not in our own energy. Cord cutting is basically the very first tool that I teach people. And it makes sense that it was the first tool, that I was guided to really take on for myself and then facilitate for other people. Because it's one of the most powerful and it's one of the most needed, especially the more sensitive we become. the more needed it is daily, multiple times a day. If I'm fully present, I'll cut my cords after every grocery store, after every interaction. And when I don't, I notice it later on. I'll get tired. I'll just feel drained. I'll feel emotions that don't make any sense for me to feel. And so there's a lot of empaths out there, and there's a lot that are awakening to that.
Yes.
So it's a very, very needed tool in the toolbox.
Yeah. And I used to think that the more healing I did, the less sensitive I would be. Like,
Oh,
I used to
I
hope
wish that
that
was the
anyway.
case.
That's not true, unfortunately. Well, I shouldn't say that. I actually enjoy being sensitive. I appreciate being sensitive. I appreciate the opportunity to do healing for people on an almost moment by moment basis, which comes out of being sensitive and comes out of being recognizing the oneness that we have. So if you're awake to suffering in the planet, then you can do something about it, and that is a beautiful gift.
Absolutely.
However, it's challenging sometimes.
It can be very challenging. Yeah. And especially for, I think it's beautiful that we are where we are and we have this understanding. I remember, and I'm certain that you must remember, a time where you didn't know that you were empathic.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I have truly lived since I've discovered that I was an empath, and what was going on for me was feeling other people's emotions and that it wasn't my own.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful understanding that it's not you, right? And then the more that we clear our energy and release other people's emotions, the more, it's really almost like the more powerful we become, because we're constantly calling our power back instead of giving it away all the time. And so the more that we're in our power, the stronger our abilities are, as well as just the stronger we are in general.
How do you feel the impact of the positive chords? What do you notice?
When they're cleared, when the negative chords are cleared properly, it's like a high vibrational relationship. It can be. It can help facilitate that. So even if it's more of a lower energy relationship, when the negative chords are cleared and just the positive ones are there, it creates this opening to have a more conscious connection with that individual. And cutting cords between yourself and your children are really powerful when it comes to everyday interactions, or even if you're not around your children, it really anchors in that higher connection between yourself and them. Did that answer your question?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it made me think about my kids. My kids Mia will be 12 this week, and Jake is 8. And things really changed for me when I really understood in my body that they are powerful beings of their own, that I'm, ostensibly responsible for them in the 3D, but not like beyond that. No, they have their own soul journey. They have their own path. They have chosen intentionally their life experience. There's nothing I need to protect them from. They are, from a high place. Obviously I need to keep them safe, keep their physical bodies safe, feed them and make sure they get sleep and all that. That really took away a lot of, for me, I believe, and I didn't look at it this way at the time, but it took away a lot of that any negative cording that I would have had with them around fear of their safety, of their security, that especially my daughter, I think you have a daughter, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you've had this experience too, but any negative experience that I've had as a woman, I was instantly like sure that she would also experience. So that creates this negative, or I'm using the word negative I know you understand. It's
Absolutely.
an energy that I would not choose to experience, especially if I'm aware of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of my daughter's 7, and she's always been very independent. And I'm certain that she's been my mother, at least in the last life, and
Mm-hmm.
probably multiple. I don't know if she's ever played my daughter before, because she is so motherly to everybody but to me. And from the moment that she could walk, she would just walk off, and she would go hug random strangers, and she would do, all these things that as a mother you're freaking out.
Yeah.
And you're like, you can't do that. And I remember just having such a hard connection with her back then, because I was in such deep fear because of everything that happened to me as a child.
Yeah.
And and she didn't let me control her. And it created a lot of discord in our connection, because she was like, no, I'm not going to take on your fears. I refuse to. And I didn't understand at the time. But a little bit later, it was like, wow, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of her soul and her spirit, and her just knowing who she is, and that she's not going to take on as anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's really beautiful that these children are coming in with such clearer knowing of who they are at a soul level, that they're not letting the conditioning and the fear and the control that we as adults are so used to, because that's how we were raised.
Right.
And it's hard, but when we come to this understanding as parents, just like you said, that there's some aspects that we're not responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And every experience that they have is soul contracted, and it's what they've chosen to experience for their own growth and their own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And having that is not only empowering, but it's a weight lift. It's a huge weight lift,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Yes.
Right.
I agree. Yeah. Huh. And it's not something I can easily explain to people.
No, there's, especially as a mother, you and I really connect in a lot of ways. And this is one of those ways, is that, we come from a society that says that as soon as you get pregnant with a child, like you have to stop your entire life, and you have to be a mother to that child, and you can't have any of your own, desires or passions or anything like that. And there's a very large group of powerful goddess women that their soul came here to show the world that it's not how we really ever should have been. And it's certainly not how we are going forward. And so it can create some interesting emotions within ourselves as mothers, and really clear any mother guilt, and come to the understanding that our children have chosen where they're at a soul level, and that we can best support them by being in that beautiful understanding with them.
Yeah. Huh. So cool.
I think it's a very powerful, very powerful belief to and soul truth to come to.
I agree. We froze there for a second. Hold on a sec.
Did I lose him?
No, I'm still here. It's just my Wi-Fi is strange.
Yeah.
What's going on with it? We're here though. Yeah, we're here. It's
interesting freeze time.
Huh? Because you were speaking a powerful truth. Yeah.
That's okay. Mm-hmm.
So I love this topic. This is probably my favorite topic, to be honest. Helping moms to be their own expression of motherhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And interesting, because I left my ex-husband about 2.5 years ago. And I awoke several years ago, and he chose not to. He went to awake a little bit, and then because of his conditioning belief, because of the way that he was raised, both of his parents have different belief systems. And I'm understanding even more so that it was past life and soul related. Nonetheless, he chose not to. Yeah. And so I reached a point where my physical health was declining rapidly when I was not listening to the fact that I needed to leave that marriage. And leaving the marriage was very difficult for me because we had two small children together. There were 2 and 4. And it was interesting because I felt my soul was so stifled in connection with him. And then when we haven't been together, he's very, no judgment, but the only way that I know how to really explain it is to say that he's 3D. So he's, come here to have a human experience, and he has his own beliefs about my sanity because I don't. My life is not to work the 9-to-5 job and come home and eat dinner and watch TV and do it all over again. Right. It was really beautiful when I came to the understanding, because I struggled so much with him staying that way when I knew so deeply that our children would benefit so much more from both of us being more conscious, really, right? And then I really came to this understanding that it was creating the balance for my children that they needed. And they chose both of us, knowing that our paths would go in different directions, and knowing that they would spend quite a bit of time with him, and then they would spend quite a bit of time with me. And as frustrating as it is when I have them, because I have to do some deconditioning when it comes to especially the food that they're eating, right? But it's I
know. We're on the same page, my friend.
yeah. It can be a lot, and you're sitting there and you're like, what is going on? The truth is, though, is that these little souls chose that balance because they really needed to live down on the earth plane the way that reality is right now, and then also have this aspect from these powerful light worker moms, right, that understand everything from way up here. And I'm kind of I'm appalled at the 3D experience personally, so I can't share that with them, you know.
Sorry, no.
So it really creates this balance, which really brings them more into, they're going to be even more incredible little light beings. They already are, but they're going to have even more incredible tools because of who we are, and then also who their fathers are. And so it's seeing the divine in everything and understanding that it's such an honor, it's such an honor to be their parent in this life, and to be ourselves, to be in our truth. And I look back at who I was before I awoke, and I look back at my ex-husband, and I don't necessarily know if I want to use the word pity, but I have a lot of reverence for that. I was absolutely miserable living in that paradigm, and it's a very depressing paradigm, and yet souls come here to live that fully through some never awake in this life. And it's it must have been something that I've chosen in previous lifetimes, and I'm super glad that it's not this one.
Yes.
Well, the experience was educational, but not fun.
No. Yeah, it was very educational. I agree. And I guess it gave us the foundation to be able to have respect for and compassion for people who are there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's 9:45 here.
Wow, it went that fast.
It really did. So okay. I want to make sure there's lots of time for your offering. Okay. And I have to be off at like at least 3 minutes before 10.
Okay.
I can go to the next thing.
Okay, beautiful.
My 3D
So,
experience of the world.
so this is going to be a brand new thing that I've never done before. Jamie and I were discussing, don't know how the audio is going to be online.
We'll find out.
But I've been practicing doing activations. I do energetic activations, really a wide range of them. We can do them based off the health. I do immune system resets, different things like that, bringing in clear gifts, all kinds of things. Really, the doors are wide open when it comes to activations and attunements that I do. But combining activations with sound. And so the very first bowl that I am beyond thrilled to present is a heart chakra bowl. And so this is the tone of F. And this is my first of many that will be coming through. And I was guided yesterday to place a sacred 7 inside of it. So a sacred 7 is made up of 7 different crystals, and it's a full chakra clearing crystal. Really helps open up the gifts and the abilities, especially psychically. And it helps really create this protection barrier is what I'm seeing specifically when it comes to our energetic space. So that is inside the bowl. And then I'm going to do some sound with the bowl, as well as really amplifying this crystal's properties to help open up. Yeah, the bowl is going to open up the heart chakra for everybody. And then with that, with the heart chakra open, this is really where we connect to our soul and really anchor in more of our abilities and just bringing us more into our soul essence via sound and activation. Cool. So I'm super excited and also a little bit nervous because this is the first time ever. And
it's the best kind of feeling though.
yeah, definitely. So for to get everybody into the right headspace, just close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Really taking your energy and your breath down into your heart space. Okay. I'm fully connected to Source, which is what I do before any energy work. And I make sure that I can feel the high vibration through and all around me so that I know that we're in a safe space, as well as a space that we can really open up and receive the highest. So we're just going to start. And just keeping your attention in your heart, just noticing any energy that you feel moving, anything that happens. I am seeing that this mini activation is going to carry for the next 24 hours. So for the next 24 hours, just noticing anything that occurs for you. And as always, drink a lot of water to allow the energy to freely move. And bringing in the heart chakra activation to allow the heart chakra to open and expand more fully and completely, along with the tones to facilitate that. Continue breathing deep into the heart space. And the heart is open enough to bring in and anchor in more of the Sacred Seven qualities. So we're going to bring in the activation of Sacred Seven for everyone now, just allowing that energy to flow through you easily and effortlessly. Coming in through your heart space and expanding up, all the way up to source, and expanding down, all the way down through Mother Earth. Bringing in trust, knowing and understanding that our soul is the highest wisdom and knows how much energy to provide, knows how fast or how slow our abilities need to be opened up. And we ask our soul wisdom, our highest soul aspects, to really bring in a higher vibrational way of being. Helping our physical beings and our human beings ascend in a more easeful and graceful way. And visualizing a light pillar coming down from source, or from creation, down through our physical beings, down into Mother Earth. And this is anchoring and grounding us fully and completely into our physical body, into our human experience, and into Mother Earth with ease and grace. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. How was that? I never know what's going to come through. Yeah, I never know. And it's just like, obviously, brand new with the bowl, but we resonate pretty well together. It's very beautiful, and so it's just, I'm really excited to add activations in with sound, and combine my sound with Reiki, and other things as well. Interestingly enough, I'm seeing that just by clinging the bowl, in the future will reach a place where it's just that sound that automatically accesses the Akashic records for people.
Awesome.
So it's really expansive. It's getting bigger quickly.
Yeah.
For all of us. We're in a very beautiful time where there's a lot of fear out there, but I just really want to say in closing that it's all amazing, and I understand that there is some suffering that's going on. And what really resonates fully for me is from a soul level. Is that souls have chosen to part at this time, and it's something to celebrate. Even though as humans we understand the loss and the grief with it, yet it's something to celebrate. And I commend every soul for choosing that, and every soul for staying here, because it's a huge expansion and it's a huge acceleration. So the souls that have chosen to leave have chosen to help anchor in a higher vibrational state for the rest of us that are here. So it's really beautiful.
It is. Yeah, I had a similar awareness come to me several weeks ago of just feeling the beauty of the choice that we were given.
Absolutely.
How compassionate this choice is.
Yeah.
To leave if we want to leave.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Athena.
Oh, you're so welcome.
How can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you or have questions?
I have a website. I am on Instagram, but I don't do much there. I actually prefer not to be on social media platforms at all, given the vibrational state of said social media platforms.
Yeah.
And so I have a website, which is athenaarabellaRose.wixsite.com. And then it's that / soaring radiance. At some point, I will upgrade to a domain, but I'm filling out which one feels the best for me too at this point.
Yeah.
And so that's my website. And then also I have an email that is linked to that. It's athenaarabellaRose@gmail.com.
Okay. Got it. At gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Do you have a book online feature or it's through email?
It is through email. I've chosen at this point not to go through calendar and book online.
Yep.
I like to have somebody reach out to me and me then tune into their energy and discover this is somebody that I want to work with or not. And so the book online feature, I feel like takes away that aspect. And it's an important aspect for me.
Very cool.
Not everybody that is guided to me is meant to work with me. In that capacity.
Yeah.
So that's how I operate.
Nice. Okay. All right. Thank you. That was
Thank
lovely.
you so much.
Yeah, that was so fun. I want to do this again, actually.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
So many of these interviews, I'm like, I want to do that again. So maybe we can revisit this in the future.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. Definitely. You and I especially can just go all kinds of different directions in our conversation. So
that's very true. And I didn't even get to the conversation on names that I wanted to have. That's all right.
No, we'll have to, write that down for next time.
Yes.
We'll do that.
All right. Much love to you in Sedona. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful time with our friend Lauren today.
Yes, we're super excited. We're going to go out and spend some time with some angels and
nice
and water.
Lovely. So, okay. Have a good day.
Okay. I'll see you in a couple days.
Bye.
Bye.